Tuesday, May 3rd, many residents of Fort McMurray, Alberta woke up to blue skies. Little did they expect just hours later their lives would change drastically. It all began with a wildfire far away from the city, but after growing rapidly, eventually covering more than 200,000 hectares, the city of Fort McMurray was declared in a state of emergency. More than 80,000 people and families were forced to evacuate their homes, leaving behind their worldly possessions. On today's show, we're at Saskatoon's local Canadian Red Cross talking to Saskatoon community members who have banded together to help those affected by the Fort Mac fire. It's all coming up on today's show, so don't go anywhere. Later on the show, we find out how young Saskatoon newcomers are giving back to a country that welcomed them with open arms, and why Prince Albert's National Park was recently up in flames.
We're there to bring it home. Shaw TV, your local voice.
Residents of Fort McMurray have been displaced from their homes for more than a week now. Many of these families don't even know if there's a home to go back to. Nationally, Canadians have raised more than $67.5 million through the Red Cross. Coming up, we'll learn about a local group of young people who are hoping to add to that total. But first, here's Simon Hyatt with a preview of a play called Popcorn Elder.
When's the last time you saw me show?
Before it went in.
While art often imitates life, Corey Dallas Standing's performance in Popcorn Elder is imitating a life he thought he had left behind.
I'd lash out at people, I'd be self-destructive and at the worst timing and make things worse, that kind of thing. And I went on a journey for a number of years where I cleaned up my act, and I'm a happy person.
Standing admits revisiting some of his own past behavior in preparation for the role of Darren in the co-production between Dancing Sky and Gordon Tatusis Nagano theaters took its toll.
The first couple of weeks were very hard on me. Like after we'd do runs, because we're doing it all day, and then I'd have to just go lie down, just because it was just hard on me. It would take me about 15 minutes just to get that out of my system, just to relax again.
The play, written by Curtis Pitatus and directed by Angus Ferguson, has two different layers. The first, inspired by a case in which a man in Arizona posed as a shaman to sell sweat lodge experiences, has to do with the quest for spiritual enlightenment.
Thank you for wearing the sacred colors of my lodge.
The second layer focuses on the father-son dynamic, which, although it is a common theme in Western literature and drama, Pitatus says is less explored in First Nations culture.
Because of the ill effects of residential schools, incarceration, the 60s scoop up that took people into foster care homes, the family unit has really been broken down, and we just don't talk about Indigenous fathers that much.
In Popcorn Elder, the son has just been released from prison, while his father is an alcoholic who never fully recovered from the death of his wife.
It's a father and son, but they're both trying to be better people, and then because they know each other as not so much as good people, and once they're forced to be around each other, they have to find common ground so they can move forward, and with that they help build their relationship stronger.
And Standing gives the Gordon Tatusis Nagano Theater a lot of the credit for helping him find his own strength.
What I really love about being an actor is you really start to understand different people and different perspectives on a personal level. Like if you really want to be a good actor, you have to really think about these people, empathize, sympathize with people. So absolutely, it was very essential to my healing.
Gordon Tatusis was so much about what I call legacy programming, succession planning, making sure that the next generation of artists is able to take their place and has that opportunity. So I'm very happy about what Corey has to share about his experience in this show. It's so fulfilling for me.
Popcorn Elder wraps up a run at Dancing Sky Theatre in Meacham on May 15th, before moving to the GTNT in Saskatoon May 19th through the 29th. For Go on Shaw TV, I'm Simon Hyatt.
At the moment, I am joined by Rashid, and he is the Vice President of Saskatoon's Muslim Youth Association. Together with friends and other members throughout different organizations in the city, they have banded together to help support the residents of Fort Mac and Fort Mac in any way that they can. Rashid, let's start with the most recent event that you had at Market Mall. What type of support did you see for that event?
Yeah, so we actually organized fundraising for Fort McMurray, and the reason behind that is, like there are many people affected from that fire, and we were actually watching news and seeing how people are affecting from the fire, and they lost their houses, they lost everything, and we decided to do fundraising event for Fort McMurray people, and we contact with Red Cross, we want to help Fort McMurray people. And I book a table in Market Mall so that we can do fundraising. And the event was I post that event on Facebook, and I got so many comments from the community. It was amazing, how helpful people are living in Canada. People were coming and giving donations, and appreciating us. So that was exciting moment for us, and especially, I involve the youth, and the reason behind that is, so that youth can understand the breaking feelings of the people in Fort McMurray.
Exactly, and many of your members of your association are newcomers to our country. So how does that relate to what the residents of Fort McMurray might be going through?
Yeah, so most of the people in our Ahmadiyya Muslim communities are came from Pakistan, and they were persecuted, and we know the feelings of the people, how our situation was when we leave our stuff there, we leave our houses. So we came without anything in Canada. And I want to appreciate the people, and that's the reason we want to give back to the community, because when we move here, so there were many people to help us, and they provide us everything.
Now, you actually were mentioning to me off camera a unique story as to why you personally were inspired to make a difference. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I was watching news on one of the channel, and I find one kid was selling lemonade and fundraising for Fort McMurray, and that's really inspiring for me. If this kid can raise a lot of money, so why not our kids can do it? And I asked I give them example of that kid, and they were really motivated. They want to do the same thing, and we started that fundraising then.
That's right. You started it. You had a very successful event at Market Mall, but that's not the end of your fundraising efforts. Tell us what you're looking forward to for the future.
Yeah. We did only one time right now, at Market Mall, but we are not to stop, and we will do more fundraising, because people need more money, and not only our monetary support, but our moral support too. So, and I can understand their situation, and that's the reason we are involved, and we want to be involved more. And if they need help in Fort McMurray in the near future, so hopefully Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association will be on the forefront to help them.
Wow, that's wonderful. I loved how he said that. They need help with just keeping their spirits alive, and that's exactly what you're doing. Well, thank you so much for doing the small commitment on your part, for giving back to the community of Fort Mac, and you're an inspiration to us all. Thank you so much, Rashid, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
Creating local TV that matters to your community. Shaw TV, your local voice.
Still to come on Go, we talk about the needs of Fort McMurray residents now that families are one step closer to going home, and participants in Persephone's youth program are ready to present their original play that took months to create. With the recent wildfire tragedy in Fort McMurray, setting a fire to a forest may sound a bit strange, but at Prince Albert's National Park, a controlled fire was set to help the grassland ecosystem. Lisa Rism explains.
So we're quite close to both the east boundary and the south boundary of the
2
park.
years of research and planning have led up to this day. Vegetation ecologist Dustin Ghetto recommended the prescribed fire of 850 hectares, the land in the southeast corner of Prince Albert National Park.
Over 90% of the historic range of fescue grasslands has been lost due to agriculture, development, and forest encroachment. And so here in the National Park, we have an opportunity to conserve and try to save some of these areas.
The task of setting the fires rests with Ghetto. He'll sit suspended from a helicopter 50 meters above the ground. The fire will be started with small balls filled with potassium permanganate. A machine injects them with glycol as Ghetto pulls the trigger.
We've been missing that fire disturbance to the area, and so we need to try to restore the fire cycle to what it once was, and part of that is getting wildfire down and burning through pine stands that say have mistletoe and trying to just burn through like it would naturally.
A black line or buffer zone was cut through the forest in winter and spring by park staff. The fire management technician says it only takes a few hours to start the fire, but it won't extinguish for 1 to 3 days.
Wind is an important factor for us. We need some wind in order to make sure the fire is burning in the direction we want it to burn. Too much wind, we can get some spot fires that then could go over our control lines. And so wind is even with the wildfires, probably one of the biggest weather factors that we have to consider when lighting these.
With tinder dry conditions and 15-kilometer-an-hour winds, a prescribed fire could easily get away. Suppression crews are on standby, ready to work the hot spots and the perimeter, while a helicopter equipped with a water bucket does the majority of the work from the air.
Our Type 1 initial attack fire crews here today and some other additional firefighters on site so that we can deal with those contingency actions if they arise.
In less than 2 weeks, South End Meadows will turn a lush green. Historically, plains bison would have foraged here. Ecologists hope birds and other small animals will return to the area.
Very good deer habitat. We have elk herds through the area. Lots of moose will be, especially after the fire. When the fire goes through, there'll be lots of forage for animals like moose coming through.
Highway 263 and Cookson Road were closed for the day. Sprinklers protected the Southgate building as a precaution. The park also consulted with the Provincial Wildfire Centre prior to the burn to ensure the safety of residents and property at Emma and Anglin Lakes and the Paspoen Cultural Heritage Site. For Go, I'm Lisa Rism.
2,400 buildings destroyed, but 25,000 saved. The Fort Mac fire has had a huge impact on the residents who live there. Joining me right now is Richard and Deanna from the Red Cross. Richard, let's start with you. I mentioned it. That is quite a devastation for these residents of Fort Mac. After an emergency crisis like this, how does a community strive and where do they go from here?
Well, you know, the Red Cross is there to help people just with those emergency needs first, making sure that people have the basics, food, shelter, and clothing. But we will be there for the long haul as they move back to Fort McMurray and begin to rebuild their lives.
What type of emotional toll does this have on these residents? Because I know the Red Cross is also a helpful ear just to listen and support.
Well, obviously it's a devastating situation. It's very traumatic. People have escaped with basically clothes on their back. They maybe don't know if they have a home to go back to. So part of what our volunteers will be providing on the ground, not only the material help, but also, you know, some comfort and support and just a listening ear and a shoulder even to cry on. What I've heard is that everyone's coping as well as to be expected.
Good.
And like I said, we've got about 600 volunteers and personnel on the ground that are helping as best as they can.
Fantastic, and you mentioned it. Volunteers are a huge part of the Red Cross, and that's why we have Deanna here with us. Deanna, volunteers, of course, is something that you specialize in with the Red Cross. What do you want community members to know about the opportunities through the Red Cross?
Right. We need volunteers all year, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We are having a volunteer intake night in Saskatoon tomorrow, May 12th at 7 o'clock in cooperation with the City of Saskatoon. They've offered us their fire department training center at 116 Avenue W. So we ask people to come on out. If you want to make a difference and you want to help your neighbors, come out and we'll start the process for volunteering in Saskatoon.
Fantastic. And what do you love about meeting all these volunteers willing to help people in any way that they can?
Their heart. People really want to help. In Saskatchewan and Canada, I think we're known as the nice people, and we do. We reach out and we help our neighbors, and that's been very evident in this disaster.
Exactly. More than 68 million raised nationally across Canada, so that's pretty impressive as to how Canadians have come together to support this cause. Moving forward, what are the residents of Fort Mac needing?
Well, again, we're just making sure those basic necessities, food, shelter, clothing are met. As they start to recover, we'll be there. We always coordinate our assistance with other forms of assistance, so whether it's government assistance, insurance, whatever it is. But we know there'll be some unmet needs, and we'll be there to help people when they need us.
Fantastic. And of course, redcross.ca is a great place to go to place your donation, and it's monetary donations.
That's correct. We just accept cash donations, and that can allow us to get the help that where it needs to be as fast as possible.
Well, thank you so much, guys. We're going to take a look at how the Salvation Army is also involved in supporting those affected by the Fort McMurray fire.
Salvation Army, Heather speaking. We absolutely do take donations for the Alberta fires. We are assisting currently right now the first responders. So we are directly located right in Fort McMurray, assisting those firefighters and whoever else is on the front lines tackling the fire right now. We're happy that we can be there not only to feed them, but to be there to talk to them, because I'm sure that they're being exposed to a lot of traumatic events that they're witnessing. So sometimes you not only need to feed them, but you need to have a good ear for them to talk to people and decompress. Our volunteers that are there are working in terrible conditions, as well as the firefighters. They're there with respirators on as well, but they're there very happy to help. Canada as a whole has stepped up to assist. It's amazing how much Canada can come together in times of crisis. We are assisting first responders in regards to making sure that they are all fed. We're doing approximately 2,000 meals a day, and we have 4 community response vehicles that are attending to all these first responders. We are getting lots of inquiries on how to help, and the best way to help, of course, is through monetary donations. And you can go online to salvationarmy.ca/Alberta Fires. As well, you can phone, we have a 1-800 number, 1-800-SAL-ARMY, and all monetary donations will be designated to the Alberta Fires.
Shaw TV, your local voice.
In a few minutes, we'll meet more community members hoping to help residents of Fort Mac rebuild their lives once settled back into their home. But first, let's meet a local group of young people who are getting ready to stage a classic called the Romeo Project.
The setting for the Romeo Project is a high school classroom, an appropriate locale, as the participants in Persephone's Young Company say they have received a real education over the past few months.
In high school, too, for my 4 years that I was in high school, I learned way more about Shakespeare in this just like 4 or 5 months than I did in the 4 years. It's insane.
Neil Visvanathan also admits he didn't have a huge appreciation for the Bard before signing up for the company, which puts young people through an intensive theater training process, culminating in a show. His perspective changed when he realized how relevant the work still is.
At first I thought of them as being really boring and uninteresting, but as I started to really learn about this play, learn about what everything meant, I learned that it's not what we think of as like an old play, a really boring play. It's really easily adaptable to like be a modern play. Characters think the same way we think of things. They're really us.
That initial lack of interest in Shakespeare is also a plot point in the play, as the characters begin to see the action of Romeo and Juliet unfold around them.
They're opening their books, they're looking at them, but they don't really see the scenes that are happening around them. But as the play unfolds, we start not looking at the books as much. They start going away a bit more, and the class really starts to see the scenes.
Nolan Moberly says the collision between the modern world of teenagers and the Elizabethan tale of 2 star-crossed lovers has something for everyone.
It's very silly, but at the same time heavy in its sense. You know, they like to play in between the fantasy of it all and bringing it back to real life a lot, and they do it just amazingly.
The Young Company is once again led by Daniel McDonald, a teacher who receives high marks from his students.
Really taught me a lot about really thinking about what you're saying before it comes out. So that's really what drew me to it, the more professional level of it.
And while McDonald wrote and directs the show, it has gone through quite an evolution from his original script.
It was kind of on the paper, but as soon as we took it up, it kind of became more so our thing than his, you know? Like, yeah, there were a few things where he had, you know, an idea for this kind of thing, but as soon as we took it up, it kind of became our own little concoction, if you will.
The Romeo Project runs at the Backstage stage at the Ramey Arts Center from May 11th through the 15th. For Go on Shaw TV, I'm Simon Hyatt.
With the amount of rain we've had recently, it's a glimpse of hope for those living outside of Fort Mac at the moment, hoping to get back to their city. Joining me right now is Greg, and Greg, it's quite an uphill battle that they still have to face in the probably coming month. You, of course, you have a fundraiser coming up because you want to help support them in moving forward in their future. Tell us a little bit about your fundraiser and why you wanted to get involved.
Well, on Saturday, this coming Saturday, we're going to take 2 large school buses, one to the Wildwood Mall and one to Lawson Heights Mall. And we'd like to fill them with non-perishable goods, clothing, toiletries, etc. And on Sunday, we're having 2 drivers drive them to Edmonton and drop them off at the Edmonton Relief Society. And any cash donations will go to the Red Cross. Actually, there's 2 of us, myself and Albina Kill, that own Hertz Northern Bus. And it's a local school bus company that we provide services to about 5 school divisions.
And you actually were telling me off camera why you were inspired to get this started. It was an employee of yours that came to you with the suggestion. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. Our chief mechanic's son is a sports car racing, and a friend of his is in the same class. And he took a car to a mall and they filled it with goods and items like we're looking for this weekend, and just thought it would be let's go bigger with the school bus.
That's
and 2 of them.
That's right, bigger and better. So that's happening on Saturday.
Correct.
You're going to be driving it after that. What do you think of the community support that you've seen here in Saskatoon? Although we aren't in Alberta, there's been quite the banding together to really support those affected by this fire.
I agree. It's been fantastic. I think there's tons of support. We're hoping, we've asked the school boards to let the schools know that we work with, and we're just hoping that it rolls in nicely and we can fill those buses up with lots of items for Edmonton.
That sounds fantastic. Any details that you want community members to know so they can come and help support the cause?
It's on our website, www.hertznorthernbus.com, and on our Facebook as well. So.
All right. Well, I wish you all the best of luck this Saturday. I know from the support that we've already had, you're going to have a great turnout, and hopefully everyone can continue supporting this cause through redcross.ca. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Punch TV is the nerdiest show in Saskatoon. If you like comics, movies, games, stellar events, and anything in geekdom, you'll love Punch TV. Host Jody Kaysen takes you in-depth with artists, writers, and guests from across the province, the world, heck, even the galaxy. Plus, regular updates from The Collector, The Movie Geek, and Tweetbeat. Watch Punch TV only on Shaw TV.
Although a tragedy has made the city of Fort Mac well known worldwide, it's the stories of support and community spirit, many of which you've heard on today's show, that people will remember. The good news is Alberta fire officials say the city is 85% intact, but residents still face an uphill battle. If you want to get involved, donate, or learn more, make sure you head to redcross.ca. Until next time, thanks so much for watching today's Go on Shaw TV.